Shay, Ma'at. This is The Truth May Hurt. My name is Raymond Witcher, and again, I am your host. I would like to say welcome back to everyone to The Truth May Hurt, and I hope you're getting something out of the presentations that I'm giving you. I'm doing a video tonight, and the title is Undressing the Well-Dressed Lies. Okay? I got this from Dr. Ray Hagins. I've mentioned him on a lot of my videos because he's a brilliant man. He has a degree, he's a doctor, he's a psychologist, he has his degree in theology. He's a bad man. I think he ministered a church in, I think it's Patterson, New Jersey for like 28 years. And when he really found out his African spirituality and the truth, he walked away from it. It takes a lot of guts to do that. Okay, so I'm going to use one of the, it's not a poem, it's definitely not a joke, but he has a way to present how to undress a well-dressed lie. I'm going to give it to you. I'm also, before we get into that, I've been using music to highlight the videos, and it's been doing pretty good. I've been getting some compliments on it. And I had been using R&B. But on this video, I'm going to introduce you to an amazing artist, okay? And it is Tracey Kadada, Kadada. And she's from Kenya, an amazing musician, an artist, activist. I met Tracey through a referral from one of my Facebook friends, Michael Morgan. And we've gotten to know each other for maybe 2 years now, going on 2 years. Okay. And it's a lot of struggles going on in Africa. She's from Kenya. She's an activist, and she has a lot of ambition for Kenya and Africa as a continent. And often she has to hide. She has to go on the run. So her music is about the struggles, and it's powerful, very powerful. And I want to introduce you to her. Sometime coming up, I'm gonna feature her and just do something with just her background music so that you can see it. But her new song is called Borderless. Okay, because in Africa, you would have to have a passport, and the French or whoever were your colonizers, they would have to approve you going across from one country to another. So it's a way of control. So this song is called Borderless. It's about no one in the continent of Africa should need a passport to go anywhere, because these are the colonial rules, okay, that are still in place. That it applies to America, it applies to Jamaica, it applies to every black nation, because we're still under some form of colonialism. And the biggest one is religion. Christianity is the most dominant one. So I want to let you hear her song. And when you're listening to this song, get the message, okay? And the message is that we as black people, as Africans spread out all over the earth, the European system has built borders, not just in between nations and countries, but between the people. We have borders built in between us. Okay, an example, back in the 60s, when there was no integration, it was all segregation, okay? We couldn't go to, they had colored bathrooms, white bathrooms. I'm pretty sure they had the same things in Africa. Okay, you couldn't go into a white establishment, but black people could go and order food and go to the back, and they would give you through the back door. But when Africans would come to America, the white owners would tell the Africans, you can come on in, you're not niggers. You see, these are borders and these are boundaries, meaning America was training us to be niggas. They weren't training Africans. Okay? They weren't hating the Africans. They wanted to keep the African Americans in our place. This is true. You can look it up. Okay, so Tracey is talking about breaking down these borders, breaking down these stereotypes. Okay, but before we get to Tracey, I want to show you a couple of things, because on the previous video and on several previous videos, I've shown you pictures of Jesus Christ with the sun behind his head. Okay, and on the previous video, I mentioned that on pictures like this, where you see the cross going through and these angles, okay? And I mentioned that this is astrology. First of all, this is the sun behind Jesus' head. And many pictures have the sun behind his head, okay, as we can see here. A lot of pictures always have the sun behind his head, okay? And one of these pictures, this picture is the one I had in my, no, it's not this one. But this picture is a perfect picture for what I'm trying to show you, that there's a direct relationship with the sun always being behind Jesus' head and astrology. And when you look at this picture, you can kind of see it pretty clear. This one is better. Okay. Now, when you look at the astrology chart, it's the same thing. And this is the sun. The S-U-N, okay? So it's all centered around astrology, all right? I'm gonna show you this one while we're here too. When we were in our African spirituality and being taught our own mythology, we were taught about the African Ankh, okay? The African Ankh, which is this. Everybody believes this is evil, and it represents devil worship and satanic, and it doesn't. They gave us a cross and said that this is the symbol of the church. Well, the first symbol of the church were the two fish. Okay, the first symbol of the church of Pisces were the two fish. Okay, so they demonized everything about us, but I want to tell you what the African Ankh really represents. And this is the way we were taught. This circle here at the top represents the cycle of life. Okay? The feminine, and it also represents the woman's womb, the mother's womb. This below, the shaft, is the male phallus. Penis. The two sides are the woman's fallopian tubes for reproduction. Okay, the cross is the opposite. The cross has a shaft at the top and a shaft at the bottom that doesn't represent reproduction. This is the child in the mother's womb, okay, that comes down the birth canal into life. So don't let people tell you things and you believe what they say, because they're telling you what they believe. You don't need that. You need to know the truth. But you can clearly see that I'm trying to make a reference to the astrology and the pictures that we see every day with Jesus Christ with the sun behind his head. The sun is behind his head for two reasons. This is the picture. This is one of the pictures. But the sun is behind his head for two reasons. One, when I tell people or ask people who made the S-U-N, God. Okay, well, I can't be exaggerating when I say that the S-U-N is God's son. So one of these is an illusion, the man, and the other is really the image of the Son of God, and it is the sun that you can see in the sky. I don't have to imagine that this is the Son of God because I see it every day. I don't have to imagine that it is the light of my life, that has never left me or forsaken me, and all of the things that they say this mythical Jesus does. Okay, this is just a character. Okay, this is just a deceitful character that has deceived many. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that in because it's on the previous video, but I didn't show the astrology sign. Okay, so we're gonna go straight to Tracey now, and I'm gonna highlight her in her new song, Borderless. And I want you to listen to the message. Now, go on YouTube, and she's on Instagram and other places, but go on YouTube and listen to her songs. I hope this song is something that lifts you up. And when I started this channel, I did it for my children, my grandchildren, and everybody, but I also started it to highlight the struggles in Africa. Because the Europeans colonized 52 or 54, not states, nations in Africa. Okay, and they're behind us. You know, the only place that Christianity is really growing and spreading is in Africa. And it's a shame. And the reason is because they are 150 years behind us getting their freedom. Okay, and they've been pounded like we were pounded. Okay, and the only thing that they had given them that was supposed to save them was who? Jesus. Okay, so they're holding on to Jesus. Okay, so we have to reach them. And it's going to be hard because you see how hard it is here in America reaching people. Okay, they're going to reject this every time. And until we understand that we have to deal with the situations that these colonizers put us in, that is the results of everything we see today. Black people killing black people. This is a learned behavior. How did we learn it? Because they had a meeting back in the late 80s and early 90s with the music industry gurus. Okay. And they met with a lot of the rappers, and they tried to get some of them to conspire with them because they were going to outlaw within the music industry that you can't have positive rap because it was frightening them. Groups like Fight the Power, Public Enemy, they were scared, so they had to do something. So they got the black rappers and they said, listen, you know, we want you to only sing negative stuff about drugs and whores and bitches and sex and provocative, because that's the way you get into the youth's minds. What you see, what you hear is gonna come out of your mouth, and then it's gonna become your actions. So Tracey is really singing positive messages, and I'm gonna let you listen to Tracey Kadada, right? Borderless.
I am not African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was
She's
born
bad.
in me. One Africa, one destiny, borderless Africa.
She has a signature voice, a beautiful signature voice. She's a beautiful woman. Tracey has four children of her own. Tracey adopted 14 children out of the orphanage. That's how big her heart is. That's how much she loves her people.
Some politicians are vampires, corrupted, puppets, aliens, program. Some politicians are vampires, corrupted, puppets, aliens, program.
Feel that? Feel it? Puppets. Proxies. Destroying your own people. You see, this is what the colonial system does.
We should stop this corruption. Borderless Africa.
Borderless.
West Africa unite. We should stop this corruption. Borderless Africa. South Africa. Central Africa. Borderless Africa. Borderless Africa, borderless, hey, borderless, 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 borderless. We should stop this corruption. Borderless. Nini usumbua, usumbua, politicians.
Feeling it? She's bad.
Tumegawanywa na mipaka, miaka na miaka. Ilianzia Berini, bara likaja vibaka, wakamua navyotaka, wakajipa mamlaka. Damu yetu ikawa sadaka, bibi zetu akawabaka. Wale waliotuuza toka kale walipuuza, si mishale wa bunduki weupe wakautukuza. Walitufukuza, walituchuza, wakatuwekea
You like that?
iwe ize kutugusa.
We got to break the borders that the colonial system has put in place to keep us apart. We got to break those borders. The borders in between the countries in Africa. The borders in between black people around the world. We are one. We're Africa. Like it or not. Tracey's bad. Okay? Her message is powerful. She's very active in everything she does. Okay? So if you're looking for someone that you can help, because I hope that this gets spread, and the people that are in a position and looking for a just cause, look up Tracey Kadada. You know, anytime you adopt 14 children out of an orphanage so that they can have a mother, tells you what kind of heart she has. Yeah. Beautiful woman, inside and out. And she's fighting for Kenya. Tear down the borders that keep us apart. We don't need borders. We need more love in our heart and compassion for one another. You know? Yeah. Hope you like this. She has a lot of music on YouTube. All you have to do is look her up. Before I get to how we were entrapped into Christianity, I wanted to bring this up. I meant to bring it up concerning Tracey and the mission that she's on, so that you can understand what Africans are up against and what colonialism, the condition that they have left the continent of Africa in. The continent of Africa has more orphanages than anywhere else on earth, all right? There is no exact count of how many orphanages exist in Africa, because thousands are informal, unregulated, or privately run. However, the orphanage population is massive. Africa is home to an estimated 35 to 52 million orphans, which account for over 30% of the world's orphanage population. It is more than the average for the world. Okay? So every man feels his burden is the heaviest until he hears somebody else's story. Okay? All right? It is more than the average of the world. Yes, Africa has a disappropriately higher rate of orphans compared to other continents. While the global orphanage population is around 140 to 147 million, sub-Saharan Africa faces the highest burden and rate of orphanhood in the world. Some sub-Saharan regions, upwards of 10% to 20% of the youth populations are considered orphaned. So I'm telling you what kind of heart Tracey has. She adopted 14 orphans. And if I remember correctly, I think Tracey, for a while, grew up in an orphanage. Okay, so when you listen to her music, you're listening to a survivor, first of all, because She hasn't been destroyed mentally or psychologically. And her heart has not been hardened. Okay, so I just wanted to throw this in because if you're looking for somebody that you can support or that you are looking to try to help, contact Tracey. Okay, so in order for us to really break this thing apart, we have to dig down to the root cause of our problem, okay? And when we do that, we have to undress the well-dressed lies. It is the lies that are holding us captive. It's the lies that are holding us stagnant, okay? I mean, we have to look at things and accept them for what they are. So Dr. Ray Hagins, I've seen him, not perform, but speak. And one of the most profound things that he's used is how to undress the well-dressed lies, okay? And he uses this story that the lie and the truth, they were debating down by a lake on a very, very hot day. There were no trees, it was just hot. And the truth was eating the lie up. The lie didn't stand a chance, so he had to deceive the truth. So he said, can you swim? He asked the truth. He said, can you swim? And the truth said, of course I can swim. And the lie said, well, let's take off our clothes and jump in this lake and cool off. And we'll swim out there in the middle of the lake and we'll just cool off. So they took off their clothes. They swam out into the middle of the lake. And while they were out there cooling off, the lie asked the truth, can you dive? Let's see who can dive down to the bottom of this lake and pull up a handful of grass and come to the top. And the lie told the truth, you go first. So the truth dove. And while the truth was going down to reach the bottom, the lie started swimming as fast as he could to the shore. So when the truth comes up with the grass in his hand, he sees the lie standing on the shore, dressing himself with the truth's clothes. So the truth swam to the shore, but now the lie, who is dressed up like the truth in the truth's clothes, ran off into the city. And as he's going down through the city, he's deceiving everyone because they recognize the clothes of the truth. Okay? And the lie is just, he's having his way. Until the people that were there that he was talking to said, wait a minute. You're dressed up like the lie because here the naked truth comes walking down the street. You see, how do you, now this is a question for you. How do you conceal a lie? You dress it up, okay? When you start a lie, you just start the lie. And as the lie starts to become exposed, you have to put more clothes on. You might have to put a tie. You might have to say, well, you need to button up your shirt now. You get a nice tie put on so that they'll start looking at the tie. And after they start seeing something else that doesn't make sense, they say, but wait a minute, none of this makes sense. You say, maybe you need to get your fedora hat and put on. Give them something else to look at. You may need to buy another pair of shoes. You may need to change a jacket and get another jacket. It's always a way to dress up a lie to take the attention off of the truth. That's what happens in church. Listen, ministers and theologians and scholars, they're trained professionals on how to manipulate your mind. They know how to use the psychology. They know how to use guilt. Even though they're going to tell you, well, Jesus will forgive you if you ask to be forgiven, but it's that guilt. Now, when this first conceptions before religion, it started with, and it still exists, good versus bad. night versus day, wrong versus right. Nobody needs to tell you in a book what's wrong and right. Okay? Nature tells you these things. Okay? We have lost. See, we are supposed to have an innate relationship with nature. Like every animal, every creature that was created, still today, they have their innate relationship with God. The first name for God is nature. Okay? Who teaches? Nature teaches everything that nature created what to do. And they have us dependent on a book. Okay? Our colonizers and enslavers forced this book on us under the premise that these men were inspired by God. Okay, we're going to take a look at that because we're going to undress this well-dressed lie. Okay, that's what the truth may hurt is about. The truth may hurt, but it's not terminal. And as soon as you have the truth and you accept the truth, now you're living in a free state. You're not living in a free state when you have the bounds of slavery still on your mind and in your head. You're still a slave mentally. Physically, you're not. In most ways. Okay, you can be physically still a slave if you're addicted to alcohol, if you're addicted to drugs, if you're addicted to methamphetamine, if you're addicted to anything. Okay, you're still a slave. So you have to address that too. Because to be free is to be free from everything that enslaves you. And right now, religion has us captured mentally because it has us in a psychosis. The definition of psychosis is a severe mental disorder where the person is no longer in touch with their external reality. You're expecting a God to come down out of the sky, I think on a horse with seven heads and a bunch of stuff. It's not going to happen. That's why, listen, do you know how many people have died believing that? And believing that it was going to happen in their lifetime? That's what the trick is to get you to believe in it. Well, at least when I die, all I have to do is wait. I'm going to go to heaven and get my reward. I'm going to show you where all of these things came from. Okay. All right. So let's get into how this happened to us. Okay. There was a reverend named Cole Cock Jones. Okay. And he wrote The Instructions for Negroes in America. Now you keep this thing on a time scale. King James Bible came out in 1611. 1618, he started the Royal African Company and made it law that only his slave ships could transport slaves. 1619, we were made slaves. 1620, Cole Cock Jones wrote Instructions for Negroes in America. And he was, it'll tell you then, I think he was a Protestant preacher, minister. And he made it the responsibility of the slave masters to train their slaves in accordance with the church leadership and doctrine, the Bible. Okay? So I don't care how much you say you love it. You love it because nobody's never shown you the truth. Nobody has ever undressed this well-dressed lie. And I'm going to pull it off of them piece by piece. I'm not going to leave anything. Okay? And when I finish undressing, I might shave them so that they don't have a beard on, so you can get a real good look at this lie and how well organized it is. So let's look at it. All right, so if you do a search on in the writing by Cole Cock Jones, Making Negroes Christians, where does it give the 5 categories that Negroes should accept their master, that they were born to be slaves and get their reward in heaven? You see, Reverend Cole Cock Jones, I mean, you ought to see this document. I'm going to pull it up for you. The Instructions for Negroes in America is 374 pages long. That's an engineering document. Okay? And within that document, it focused on 5 things. Number 1, teach Negroes that God Almighty and Jesus Christ made them to be slaves. Number 2, teach them that God Almighty and Jesus Christ made white people to be their masters. And this was to be taught through the church. Number 3, no church can go against what God has ordained. Number 4, God made Negroes to live in poverty. And number 5, teach Negroes that they will get their reward in heaven. Now, isn't that what they're preaching from the pulpit? Don't worry about it. You're going to get your reward in heaven. Who told you that? The same people that put chains on you and made you slaves? The same one that told you your skin is too dark, your nose is too big, your lips are too big, your butt's too big, everything about you is wrong? The same people? Yes. Okay. So when you do this search, the text I am referring to was written by the Southern slaveholder. He was Presbyterian minister. And Southern slaveholder and Presbyterian minister Charles Colcott Jones Sr. It is the most famous under the title. It is most famous under the title Religious Instructions for the Negroes in the United States, published in 1842. It was earlier than 1842. I thought it was 1620. Okay, well, he made the instructions. I do most of these things by recall, and sometimes I might get something wrong here or there, but I never said I'm infallible. The Bible says it's infallible, perfectly written, and error-free. I never said that. So I will misstate something, and when I catch myself, when I watch it, after I edit it and everything, I catch me, I was wrong about this date or that. So understand, okay? Because the book is an extended argument and manual for whites enslavers and ministers, the rules Jones laid out for slaves to obey their master and await their reward in heaven is not organized into a single list of 5. Instead, the doctrine of submission and heavenly reward are woven throughout the book's theological justification, and most notably in his related 1837 publication, Catechism of Scripture, Doctrine, and Practices. Okay? So throughout this document, as I said, it is focused on controlling your slaves' minds, teaching them these 5 things and others, but the key focuses are those 5 things. Jones draws heavily upon biblical passages to outline the specific expectations and duties of slaves, often referred to as servants. See, when the Bible talks about servants, they're talking about slaves. So when they say your servants, they mean your slaves. Okay? And everybody thinks that slavery, it was more dominant in the scriptures in the Old Testament, and it's not. I think slaves and servants are mentioned like 20 times in the Old Testament and like 149 in the New Testament. So the New Testament is really a slave-driven doctrine. How to be a good slave. You see, in the Willie Lynch letter of How to Make a Slave, he says we have to make Negroes. This is engineering. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Everything that we think we believe in and think we know is within the circumference of this circle that they put us in. The circumference of this circle represents everything that I think I know, that I believe I know, and every bit of it was given to you by your colonizers and your enslavers. You don't have anything going on in your mind unless you've done some studies outside of what they've given you about yourself, Africa, or anything else. You see? All right. accepting their status and submission. These are the things they focused on. Enslaved people were taught that God established the order of society. Therefore, they were commanded to obey their masters according to the flesh, with fear and tremble, and singleness of heart, and not with eye service as men pleasures. Look, give up all of your ambitions, give up everything. You were born to be my slave, and I'm born to be your master. Submission, total submission is what they were telling you. You were born to be a slave. Fidelity and respect. Slaves were to view themselves as belonging to their master, serving with total fidelity and working for the advancement of the master's interests as if they were their own. And you wondering why I got out? I'm showing you why I got out. Okay, I'm not a slave. Now, if you go a lot of places in Africa, they're still calling the white people Lord or Master. Okay, some kind of biblical stuff. All right. No right to rebel or run away. You got to remember they had a slave Bible. The last video I just showed you, they wrote a Panary Bible in 1975 and 1976. Okay, they're going to write something so that you can understand that you're a heathen. You need to be saved. Okay, no right to rebel or run away. Slaves were instructed to bear unjust treatment patiently rather than being insubordinate or running away. Don't run, nigga. You committing a sin, and I'm going to tie you to the whipping post, and I'm going to read you Luke chapter 12, verse 47 and 48. The servant, the slave that knows the master's will and does not prepare himself to perform the master's will shall be beaten with many stripes. This is the verse that they read before they beat you on the whipping post with all the other slaves standing around watching with a bullwhip. That was verse 47. Verse 48 says, and the slave that knows not the master's will and prepares not for the master's will shall be beaten with less stripes. So everybody getting an ass whipping. It's in the Bible. I didn't write it. Okay, now you say, well, Ray cursed. Well, you know what? God is wondering why you're not cursing everybody out, to be honest with you. You let somebody do all of these things to you, and then you feel like because you curse or you say a curse word or you tell somebody that I'm going to send you to hell, get that hell out of your mind. Now, I'm not saying go out and be belligerent, but if you have to speak in a language sometime that lets people understand more clearly, hey, after everything they did to us, every now and then you might have to let one go, okay? Reward in heaven. The theological justification for enduring bondage was the promise of a heavenly inheritance. Slaves were taught that whatever good or faithful service they rendered, they would receive the reward of the inheritance. For ye serve the Lord Christ in the afterlife. Look, man, this is Bullchit. Now, people have told me for the last 8 years, some bad gonna happen to you. And I mentioned like the professional football player Reggie White. Now he was one of the most staunch ministers that you would want. He was against homosexuality. He was against everything. He was a staunch Christian, the minister of defense. But when he started really studying and then going back and looking at things in the Hebrew and finding out all of these errors in the Bible, he left. He stopped preaching. He stopped doing anything to represent Christianity. And a minister friend of mine, I was discussing some of these things with him that I'm discussing with you. And I brought up, like I brought up with you, that Reggie White, when he found out the truth, he walked away. Now, Reggie White died from a heart attack. And that was the only thing he could say. And he said, and you see what happened to Reggie White when he went against God, didn't he? He had a heart attack and died. I said, listen, man, you can't associate this man's death with because he left Christianity. So people have been telling me for the last 8 years, God's going to strengthen me off. And I tell them, I don't want to hear it. Okay, none of that boogeyman stuff no more. You know, you don't bring any fear in my heart by trying to attack me. That God now is going to strike me down and punish me severely. We're all going to die. Listen, I'm going to tell you a secret. In the Christian world, none of us are making it out of here alive. Look up when was the rapture or the concept of rapture entered into the Bible. The word rapture is not even in the Bible. But you hear Christians and believers with all this faith saying, I am going to be raptured. It's not even in the Bible. Rapture is not in the Bible. But because people heard somebody say that, they became professors at what other people said. And they go out and preach it. And you hear preachers preaching it from the pulpit, and it makes me sick because it proves to me they don't even know the Bible. If they knew the Bible, they would know that rapture's not in it. And if you did any studies, Google when was the concept of rapture put in the Bible. It'll tell you 1834. Jesus Christ wasn't even on the Bible before 1630. So all of this stuff they have you believing in, it's a lie. And I'm going to undress it. All of this stuff that's in your head was put in your ancestors' head, and they trained your ancestors to put it in you. All right. You can read the full text of the religious instructions for Negroes in the United States in the documenting the American South Digital Collection provided by the University of North Carolina to examine the exact questions and answers used to teach slaves these duties. You can view the complete text, okay, and the doctrine. You can review it. So don't trust me. I don't want you to trust me. Most of you watching this don't know me, okay? If I was standing here and saying, trust me and believe me, I would be starting a religion. I'm trying to get you out of religions. I'm trying to get you, for the first time in your life, close to God. I'm trying to get you for the first time in your life relying on God and not man. Get him out of the way. Okay? They're believers. Why would I want somebody leading me to New York that's never been to New York, doesn't know how to read a map, and they just want me to believe they know their way? Man, I'm not doing that anymore. Okay? So when you go to church, now, okay, this was back in 16 and 1800s. The instructions for Negroes were being taught to the slaves through the church. But that same doctrine, that same format, those same practices, those same principles are what they're using in the church today. Prove me wrong. Now, I know people that say, well, I don't care what you say. Well, I don't care how you feel. Okay, we even. You know, I'm not bringing my passion and feelings and emotion into this every now and then. I might say bullshit, but I spell mine different, B-U-L-L-C-H-I-T. Now, if you want to hold that against me, fine. Okay, but it's less ridiculous than what I see you doing. You're holding on to something with all your might because you're afraid that I'm going to die and go to hell. You're in hell. These people that you believe were inspired by God are the ones that put you in hell. You see, listen. God did not inspire these men. Those men never existed. They never existed. Okay, let me show you something. I went over this and I didn't go far enough on the previous video or watch. Everybody forgive me, okay? Because I'm at the point that, you know, this is the one of the biggest comic books I ever saw in my life. All right, the last video we went over. Okay, first of all, there were only 8 verses in the book of Mark. Okay, now the book of Mark is actually the first gospel written. Okay, the first gospel written wasn't Matthew. The first gospel written was Mark, and there were only originally 8 verses in the book of Mark. Now, the book of Mark says when the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James and Simone, brought spices to the tomb. I'm not going to read all this. So here it says that both Marys went. All right. And they were told to go tell the other prophets, but they left and they were trembling and bewildered. The women went out and fled from the tomb, and they said nothing to anyone because they were afraid. So that's where the book of Mark ended. They didn't even have Jesus raising from the dead until verse 9. But here it says the earliest manuscripts of some other ancient witnesses do not have verses 9 through 20. Okay, now watch. Let's go to Matthew chapter 28, and we're going to look at verses 1 through 8 again. Well, I'm going to want you to go back and look at Matthew chapter 28 and just compare verses 1 through 8 to Mark verses 1 through 8. All right. Now, Mark said that both Marys went to the tomb. Okay. Here it says that both Marys went to the tomb. But verse 2 says, and behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. Mark didn't feel no earthquake. Now, there was an earthquake. Now, according to the Gospel of Mark, both Marys went, nobody saw an earthquake. According to the Gospel of Matthew, both Marys went, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the angel came down, descended from heaven, and rolled the stone back. Very early on the morning, on the day of the week, just after sunrise, they were on their way to the tomb, and they asked each other, who will roll the stone away from the entrance of the tomb? But when they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had been rolled away. Now, a gospel according to Mark says it was already rolled away when the Marys got there. The Gospels according to Matthew says that an earthquake, a great earthquake, and the angel descended from heaven and rolled the stone back. Somebody lying. The Gospel of Mark, according to the Gospel of Mark, Luke, well, none of them say the same thing, is what I'm trying to show you. Okay, so how can this be the inspired word of God, and God telling Matthew that the 2 Marys went and a great earthquake happened and the angel descended from heaven and rolled the stone back? And the Gospel of Mark says that when the 2 Marys got there, the stone was already moved. It was already rolled back. But now this is the inspired word of God. Okay? Now, Mark, we just did that one. 16 minutes. Now, the resurrection according to Luke. On the first day of the week, at the dawn, they went to the tomb. It doesn't even say who they are. They went to the tomb. It doesn't say Mary Magdalene and the other Mary. It doesn't even say that. And they found the stone rolled away. So Matthew is the only one that's saying that there was an earthquake, because Luke didn't see he didn't feel an earthquake. Mark didn't feel an earthquake. Everybody else says when they got there, the stone was rolled away. Matthew is the only one that's saying that angels descended down from heaven and rolled the stone away. You got me? All right. If you don't compare what these men of God that were inspired by God say, then you'll stay lost. But as soon as you start paying attention, you're gonna say, wait a minute, man. Wait, hold on. Something is not right. All right. All right. Let's see now. Here's John. All right. On the first day of the week, it's just one Mary went to the tomb. Still dark. They saw the stone had been taken away from the tomb. So the only person that says that angels came down and rolled it away is Matthew. Now, when you read verses 1 through 8, do it like I'm doing and compare the differences that makes this unreliable. Okay? It can't be both ways. It can't be like Mark said and John or Matthew. Okay, now if it was an earthquake, all of them would have felt it. Or God would have told all of them the same thing. These are authors, anonymous authors that are not named John, Matthew, Luke, and Mark. These are authors out of the Peso family. And they leave clues. If you go back and look at my video on the Peso family, you will see that they left clues within their writings. Okay? Not only did they leave clues within their writings, they were trying to outright each other, telling these stories. Who can make a better story? Just showing you, okay? Okay, when you go back and start, when you spend time with me, or if you go back and on your own, hopefully this is stirring up enough interest in you that you'll start going on doing your own research, okay? But when you go back to our originally mythology, you'll see where they stole the story of Jesus Christ from. Who was the original Christ? The word Christ originates from the Kemetic word Chris, or Chares, which symbolizes the spiritual rebirth of Asar, or Osiris. See, Asar and Aset were the original or the first trinity that through their union gave birth to the Son of God, Haru, is what it's telling you. So Asar was the original character. When the Greek came in and Hellenized it, they changed the name Asar to Osiris, the Kemetic deity of the dead, being raised to his feet to govern the spiritual world of the dead. Okay. So the name or the title Christ came from the Kemetic word Chares. This was the original concept of the resurrection of the spirit of man, and it's being separated from the mortal man. Chares refers to the anointed one, just like Christ is the anointed one, okay? Or the shining one, indicating a mummy or Shah in ancient Kemet, which was anointed and scented oils and frankincense and myrrh. It being raised symbolizes spiritual transformation and enlightenment. The Asar, Chares, or Osiris, Chares concept was eventually converted to Christ, the anointed one, by the Greek. See, this is all the Hellenization period. Remember, I've been telling you that when the colonizers came in, they took everything that you had and they stripped it down, but they started using the same story, just changing their names. Christ the Anointed One by the Greek, and then to Jesus Christ by the Romans. I'm just showing you. Okay, now I'm gonna stop here for a second, because when you go back and you look at Ptolemy VI, he was the first Egyptian, because they changed the name from Kemet to Egypt during the Hellenization period. So the first European ruler or pharaoh in Egypt was named Ptolemy. I think it was the 6th. The Egyptian and the black people in Egypt would not worship this white pharaoh. And they told him, we're not building a statue. See, because when you go to Egypt, they have statues of all of the gods and all of the previous pharaohs. But they would not honor this white pharaoh. So he created his own statue and his own god. And his name was Serapis. Okay. By the Romans, that's what they did. I'll show you Serapis, but let me finish this. In ancient Kemet, the goal in the afterlife was to become like Asar or Osiris, the first Christ, which represented the perfect soul, okay, known as Sharu. By following the path of Osiris, they believed they would achieve eternal life, same as Jesus Christ. This is the this is the origin of why Christians seek to be like Christ, to be Christ-like. It was all conceptualized from the original African spiritual system and the minds of our Kemetic ancestors. This is our story, is what I'm trying to tell you. They took ours, they stole it, they Hellenized it, they counterfeited it, and then they enslaved us with it. Okay? And I can only show you. It's not my job to convince you. If I've shown you enough to make you say, I've done a good job. If I've done enough to make you say, let me look into this deeper, I've done a great job. If I've got you to the point that you've looked into something and then you can say, man, this is a lie and it's been undressed, I've done my job great. I'm very successful. Okay. But if I've only, pissed you off, that's okay too. Okay. That's all right too, because, this is a hard thing to accept, So, just don't get mad at me, because everything that I've seen is enough for me to say I'm tapping out. I don't need your fairy tale God no more than I needed your Santa Claus. Okay? They're all made up. Okay? And we need to stop passing this on to our children, because they're going to be born into the next version of this. This is getting ready to crumble. This was only supposed to last 2,160 years. Okay? Because of astrology. Is it still up here? I don't have it still up here. Because of astrology. Okay? And we are out of the age of Pisces now. We are in the age of Aquarius now. Look up the New World Religion headquarters open in Dubai in 2023. You see, you hear about the New World Order all the time, but they're hiding the New World Religion because this is for the generations that come after us. They're going to be born into it, and they're going to be indoctrinated into this new religion just like we were. I'm going to say Ashe, and everybody have a great day. If you haven't told anybody you love them today, please do. All right? And make sure you mean it when you say it. All right? Keep in mind that we have to break the borders and become borderless. Okay? And in every respect. All right? So be blessed. I'll be back soon.